Hi, my name is Tobias. I have the pleasure to guide you through the functionality of the final version of the Trapeze privacy dashboard. So let's put ourselves into the shoes of a user and log in by clicking on the Login button. I am redirected to a login page where I insert my credentials. Now that I'm logged in, I can move to the controller selection page to see which controllers are processing personal data on me. In this demo, there are 3 controllers that process my personal data: a dummy controller, CaixaBank, and Digital Flanders. Let's select CaixaBank and see what personal data they process on me. This is the home screen for CaixaBank. It is split into 3 columns. In the right column, I can see that I have selected the controller CaixaBank. Aside from some contact information at the top, I can see the privacy policy of CaixaBank. One of the key enablers of the Trapeze privacy dashboard are the machine-readable privacy policies in JSON-LD format. These machine-readable privacy policies are communicated back and forth between the privacy dashboard and the Trapeze platform. Since the machine-readable format is not so accessible for us humans, let's have a look at a translation into natural language. This example privacy policy is only a dummy version that is shown for the purpose of presenting the dashboard. It is a direct translation of the machine-readable format into human-readable format. It can, of course, immediately be substituted with CaixaBank's actual privacy policy. The benefit for me as a user is that I can immediately access and review CaixaBank's privacy policy in either human and machine-readable format and do not have to browse CaixaBank's website or consult a search engine to find it. Also accessible is the Data Protection Officer at CaixaBank. By clicking on the Contact button, I can immediately get into contact with CaixaBank's DPO through this contact form. The same contact form can be used to contact the Data Protection Authority that handles data protection-related issues with respect to CaixaBank. All in all, the controller information in the right column makes it very clear to me as a user that all interactions I make on the dashboard happen with respect to CaixaBank and not, for instance, another controller. So let's have a look now at the middle column. Here I can find information on how I can interact with CaixaBank as a controller through the dashboard. Notably, through the Data and Purposes cards, I can access the Data and Purposes menus, which will allow me to see which of my personal data are processed and what for. Let's first have a look at what personal data CaixaBank processes on me by clicking on the data card. There is a short loading screen here, since the dashboard needs to fetch my previously given consent from the Trapeze platform. Apparently, I have given consent for the processing of my contact data, my credit data, and my financial data, which makes sense as CaixaBank is a bank. While I know now that CaixaBank processes my contact data, I'm curious to see what they process that data for. So let's go ahead and click on the contact row. A column falls down that shows that my contact data are processed for the purpose of service personalization, optimization for a consumer, and optimization for a controller. Now, let's say that I'm not satisfied with CaixaBank optimizing for their own sake on the basis of my contact data. So I have to move the toggle to the left and click on the Submit Changes button to withdraw my consent for that combination of data and purpose. If I were dissatisfied with all processing of my personal data, I could simply click on the Withdraw All Consent button and likewise submit my changes. Let's shortly reload the page to see whether my withdrawal was actually successful and has been persisted on the Trapeze platform. Apparently, the toggles are as I submitted them and my withdrawal was successful. For each combination of data and purpose, the dashboard prominently highlights the rights that I have as a data subject. I can act upon my data subject rights by simply clicking on one of the items here. This opens the contact form with a pre-written text template that I can use to, for instance, request access to my data. When I wish to indicate that I feel that my contact data are not very sensitive or very sensitive to me, I can use this slider in the below and persist the changes in the same fashion as with consent. Now that I've understood the categories of data that CaixaBank processes on me, I'm also curious to see all purposes this processing serves. For now, I'm only aware of 3 purposes. In the Purposes menu, I can see that CaixaBank actually processes my personal data on the basis of my consent with respect to a total of 4 purposes. The interface is essentially the same as in the Data menu, which is why we skip the details here and last but not least highlight the Other Legal Basis menu. Withdrawing all consent does not mean that no processing of personal data is happening. To make users aware of this, there is the Other Legal Basis menu. As you can see, there are no toggles in this menu. Users can see what data are processed and for what purposes, yet they cannot immediately control the processing in the dashboard. I can see, for instance, that CaixaBank processes identifying data for the purpose of identity verification in order to perform the contract that I have made with CaixaBank. If I want to stop that processing, I now know that I have to terminate my contract with CaixaBank. This concludes the demo of the Privacy dashboard. Thank you for listening.